Hello everyone, Ceri the Crafter here, that's C-E-R-I the Crafter, and I'm here with a bit of a personal journey today. Actually, I'm going to be doing a new journal. Now, as some of you who have watched my other videos know, I do have a journal. This is my journal, it's the one I'm working on. However, we're just coming up to the 2-year mark from the pandemic, and I made this journal for myself just prior to the pandemic. Now, the journal is not full by any means. However, this journal took on a different kind of identity than what I was expecting it to become. Without getting too down in the depths about it, we lost several family members and friends along the way, and in clearing houses and all of that, photographs and memorabilia came to light that I'd forgotten about, and I thought, okay, so I started collecting it, and this has sort of become a book full of memories and things that I pretty much forgotten about, which isn't what I was going to plan to use this journal for. So I thought, right, starting in 2022, this journal is still ongoing. Believe me, I've got a load of stuff to go in this. But going forward, I want a new journal. I want it to be 2022 is going to be a very big, fresh start for me. It's like everyone else have been through 2 years, but the last year has been quite transitional for me. I think I've now discovered a lot more about myself, who I am, the way forward, and I want a bigger, brighter future. And to that, I want a bigger, brighter journal. So what I did is I went out and bought one of these. Now, I've already done some gesso work over that, although the cover was already white. And this is from what in America you call it a dollar store. In here it's like, I think this is Poundland, a Pound World or something. And it was just a textbook. I have no idea. I think this was about black history or something. And all I wanted was something that was the right size for the pages I wanted to put in it. So an A4 sheet folded in half is roughly the right size. It's a little bit taller top and bottom the book than I'd have wished, but you know, I tend to put things in, stick out the top and stick out the bottom, so I'm like, you know what, I'm going to go with this and I think it will work. So I'm going to take you along on the process how I do this. It just happened to be this was a white cover. It wasn't what I planned. This had black writing, not overly bothered. I'm going to see the stitching over this, and I'm probably going to put a bit of fabric down the spine once this journal is completely finished. So I'm going to make a journal, and we're going to gut this book, which I thought take you on the journey with me, and then I'm going to show you how I do my signatures and how they get sewn in. Now, I'm almost certain this is going to be a 2-part video because I want to do stuff to the cover, I need to do stuff to the inside, so bear with me, and this will be a 2-parter. I'm sure it's going to be a 2-parter, and I'll be with you all the way. So first things first, I need to gut the book. Now, when I look at this book, and hopefully you'll be able to see, I bend this all the way back. As you can see, there's a gap all the way through. Now, the aim is to cut by there and cut by there without cutting the jacket itself. So I need to come in here very carefully and cut down there. It takes a little bit of patience, and it takes a little bit of a sharp knife, and if this goes wrong, you will never have seen this video. So I find that pulling the spine out a little bit, just working at it a little bit all the way down, I'm just going to go very patiently downwards. I don't want to cut the fabric of the spine. If I do, there are ways around it, and I'm not that worried, but I would really like not to. So cutting the first one is always the hardest. And I mean the first page, the first cover, because the second one, get that out of the way, the second one is easier because you can almost open the book up. So as you can see, I'm being really cautious because it's easier to not cut the book, the spine, than it is to cut it and then have to repair it. So we've got a good dose of glue on this one. Try to get it started so I can get into it. Once it starts going, as you can see there, it's just started to open up. It becomes a lot easier. There you go. That was what I was hoping for. It opened all the way down. Now you can see taking off the second one is going to be so much easier because it's already exposed. And to be honest with you, I'm just going to grab a scissors, because at this point I can just come in. The thing is to take this bulk off, because we can tidy up later on once this is out the way. It's the book block that is the thing that inhibits us. So if this looks a little awkward, it is a little awkward at times. Let's see if I can get in there with a knife. So every book seems to come apart in a different way. So obviously if you're using a knife, please be careful. My videos are not marked for children, so I don't expect there to be children involved anyway. Right. So this will go to one side now. This will probably come a glue book. I will be very cautious of using this text in any collage work, because you are more than likely to find language in one of these inexpensive books that you may not want to actually be seen in your collage work. So we've now got our bits of spine here. I'm just going to take this off because I don't need it anyway. I'm going to be putting a new inner on it anyway, so I might as well just take any loose card away from it. I'm not going to take all that off, I don't need to. I just want to expose this area here, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to reinforce that a bit later on. So, as I said, not worried about any of that. This can just go into a scrap area. So I've now got myself the carcass of a book. What is that little bit coming off? A carcass of a book. Now these pound store, dollar store books are not meant to stand the test of time. They're not hugely robust. Okay, so I'm going to, first of all, I'm going to reinforce this here. Now, hopefully I've been in shot for all that. Now this is why I keep all of these scraps of card. Now I don't want a piece of card that is so thick I'm going to find it hard to stitch through. I'm looking for something possibly that or thinner, so that would almost be good enough, but I think I'm going to have to go with this. Now this is what I mean, it's not hugely thick, but it's just thick enough. I'm also going to probably in the next video put a bit of fabric across there to strengthen it just a little bit more. So where are we up to? So let's line that up there. I'm going to line it up so it matches this one here, because why not? I mean, it's already there. It's going to make it so much easier to stick onto. So, and I'm going to come up. I'm going to come up to the top. I think I'm going to come up to just where that line is, because the book's going to be sewn into this area here anyway. So that gives me, oh, I've got two pieces there. Oh, there you go. It's even thinner than I thought. Right. Let's get, where's my right angle ruler? Sorry if I feel a little disorganized. This is just, it's always tricky trying to do stuff on camera when the camera's actually in the way. And I mean that with all the love in the world. But I'm looking through the camera to do all of this, which means that my face is pretty much the other side of the screen. So I'm going to come down with a sharp knife, just get a nice clean cut. I could have used a guillotine, but I don't really have one of those heavy duty guillotines. I mean, mine would probably have cut it, but I work better with a knife, to be honest. Right, and I just wanted to take this piece off here. Now this spine has already got cardboard in it, so we're just laminating another layer of cardboard on top of it. So let's take that little bit off there. So this will sit in there perfectly well, and I think that's going to be enough. Or do I want another layer? I'm doubting myself now. That should be enough. If in doubt, sort it out. Right, we're going to put another layer in there as well. I'm going to laminate two of them together. That way at least I know that it's not ever going to worry me. So just another mark there, another mark there. So these are decisions you can't really make ahead of time. You have to make them when you've actually taken the book to pieces, because you don't know what's under that cover, you don't know what's under under the spine itself. You just have to go with the flow. And once you uncover the book, then it either exposes problems or pleasures. You never know which it's going to be. Now, I did say I'm going to be sewing through this, so that's not a problem. Right, let's put the pencil out of the way, get the ruler out of the way, get these pieces together. Now, the next question is, what sort of glue shall I use? PVA glue would work. Art glitter glue would work. I'm almost certain Fabri-Tac would work. Which one do I want to use? Let's use Fabri-Tac, shall we? Just because it's a porous surface, and I think if I used art glitter glue, I'm probably going to have a problem. It will soak in before I actually get to use it. So first of all, I'm going to just laminate these two pieces together. And don't forget, I did say that later on there's going to be a piece of fabric over the top of this as well, supporting the join between the spine and the two covers. Well, I think they're called cover boards. I never know the real lingo for these things. I make up words as I go along. But don't tell anyone that, okay? Right, so that's laminated those two together. I'm quite happy about that. And then I think I can probably just get this, hopefully still in camera with you guys. And put a line down there. Now, I could have actually done the entire thing from scratch, making my own spine and my own book boards as I would normally, but to be honest with you, I do that all the time, and I thought it might be quite nice to share with you how I do this sort of version. Let's get that in place and slide it down and give it a good press down. And I'm noticing that where I lifted this up, this is coming up as well. Not really a problem, but I'm going to put a line of glue underneath it anyway, just for peace of mind. Now, if I was wrapping the cover of the book in fabric, I certainly wouldn't worry about that, because it would seriously just wrap around there. So I'm just going to come in, make sure that's all nicely glued down. There you go. So I've got that in there. Do I need to worry any more about it? Probably not, because we're going to be working on the book the other way up anyway, which means that I'm going to be pressing down. So I now want to concentrate on what I want the outside cover looking at. Yeah, call me materialistic, but I want to make the cover look pretty. I'm going with a theme of, I want to keep it quite light. I'm probably thinking florals and light colours. I love dragonflies, and they're very significant to me, but I don't want to do this as a dragonfly journal, but I think I'm going to make it a butterfly journal, because I've got some really nice butterfly graphics I want to use, and they're lovely. I love them. So I'm going to bring in a couple of pieces of this stuff so that I can actually make sure I don't make a total mess. Make sure that is lined up. Yes, it is. I don't want to make a total mess on the other side. I'm just going to pull in a couple of little clips to hold this together. It's probably going to slide around, but at least it'll prevent it a little bit for me. Come on, in you come. Now, I normally craft video standing up, but I'm going to sit down for this bit because it'll be easier on my back to actually do the next bit. So hopefully I'll be in shot if I keep all of this where it is. So, wheeling in a chair. So for me, I want to put some colour onto this. I like colour, and I'm going to use colour for this. So I'm not going to use a palette. I'm just going to use book pages, and I've got a scraper here. So one of my favourite colours currently is this colour, which is jade green. Doesn't have to be by Arteza. It just needs to be jade green for me. So I'm going to pull this in, and I'm going to put a bit of this on my book just so I can work with it. Let's put that back over there. Now, I don't want the book fully coloured. I just want pieces of it in here. So I'm going to come in and I'm going to put some of this onto my scraper, and I'm going to pull in bits of colour. And I just want to give it hints of something in the background. Now there's going to be other things on here as well. I just want to make sure I've got something that's got something of interest on it. And I'm going to move that to one side because I want to do the back cover as well. We'll see where this goes. I mean, this is the interesting thing about doing mixed media type projects. You never 100% know what they're going to look like when they're finished. And I love that idea. I think that's really exciting. So I'm scraping it on because I only want a thin layer of paint. I don't need this to be hugely thick. So let me just have a look through the iPad to see what you're seeing, to make sure I'm still within shot. Yep, still within shot. Loving that. Okay, I'm now going to bring in, getting rid of this, and this is why I like using this instead of a palette, because I now don't have to clean that. I'm going to come in and I'm going to use sunflower yellow, and I'm using sunflower yellow primarily because the whole spread is going to be bright. So sunflower yellow. I'm going to come in and I'm going to do the same sort of action again. And I'm using yellow because besides being a colour that's really bright and sunny, it's also a colour that's part of the primary family. And it's with blue. Blue and yellow make green. Obviously, we all know that one, hopefully. So it just means it will blend really quite well into the green. It'll also make it a very interesting colour combination. Now, don't forget, I did say I'm going to be putting some fabric onto the spine of this. So I'm not overly concerned with this area here. It's all going to get covered up. Right. So let's take that page out of the way. Again, my disposable has gone. Now let's have another look from above. Just want to make sure you're seeing what I'm seeing. Yeah, I thought that might have happened, might have moved. Now I'm going to come in with some white, because I want white there now to soften all this back, to take this back to, just to take it back a notch, to be honest. And this is more of a liquid white, this Artiste one, and I'm going to come in and do the same thing, but this time I'm going to work it into the paints, and it's going to pick up stuff. It's going to move it around on me. I know it's going to move stuff around on me, and that's what I'm wanting. I want this sort of arty paint sort of look to things. Now in this process we are going to jump around quite considerably between doing these and then, well, this is drying, we're going to look at signatures and bits of paper for this, that and the other. So know that we are going to jump around a lot, guys, so bear with me. So right, now I like the transparency of that. I like where that's gone. Do I want another colour in there is the next question, because I only pulled out those colours because those were the colours I planned, and I'm wondering whether I do need another colour. I've got an idea of what I want to put onto the front already, and I'm wondering whether maybe I don't need to use another colour. I like how this has happened, and this is a bit dark for me. Now I could flip the book around and use that as a cover. That's not a problem at all. It's my book, I'll do what I want. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in and I'm going to use some white gesso now, because white gesso will also put a bit of a film between this and anything I put on top of it. So I'm just going to use my regular white gesso. It's not a heavy bound gesso, it's just a white acrylic gesso. And I'm going to use the same scraping action to do the whole of the cover. Again, all I'm doing is just dipping in my scraper and I'm bringing that in. That's better. I want this to be delicate and muted, but I don't need it to be so delicate that you can't see it. As I said, the gesso's got multi reasons for being there. It's got the whole thing of it's sealing my surface for me from any wet medium that goes on there. And I don't plan to put wet medium on here. I'm planning to put some Tim Holtz collage medium on here. because we're going to be doing a bit of collage onto the front with napkins. I think I like the way that's coming. I'll clean that down a bit. I was so tempted to maybe put something like texture paste on here and then go with that, and I was really excited about that, and I thought, you know what, I have no idea the journey this journal is going to go on. I mean, next year hopefully I'm going to be traveling again, and if I take the journal with me, I don't really want it to end up getting battered and bashed and bits falling off the front. So let's clean that off a bit. I want to put some more white onto that, and it's a bit contaminated now, the scraper. Okay, I think that's good enough for what I'm thinking of. So the good thing about doing this is the book was only £1. The only thing that's going to cost me any money or anything is actually the time of me putting this into this. So I'm just going to do whatever I want. And if I don't like it at the end of the day, guess what? I don't have to use it. I mean, until I sew the signature in, I've not really lost a lot of anything, have I? So I might come in with a bit of stenciling later on and just put some stenciling into there. Maybe do that in white, and that will just make it bold. Right, I need a bit of a wet wipe going on here because I've got some green up the edge of there, and I don't want to contaminate my gesso with green. Get that out of the way. A bit clean up there. So as you can see, I've not really spent too much effort. I've just scraped some colour on there, and I quite like the way that's looking. Once that's dry, I will probably use my fingers to smear a little more white on there in patches, just because I do know I've got other bits to go on top of there. So let me just clean up just a touch, if you don't mind, because we're doing this in real time. If there's any drying to be done, however, I will dry it either at high speed, or I'll dry it off camera and come back to you. So just cleaning up the edges there, only because I know through doing this before, that's where it all accumulates the paint. So I think we need to clear the decks now, and then look at what I'm planning to use for signatures and how I'm planning to use them. So let me just take a second to move this entire kit and caboodle onto the surface behind me. Okay, so once we've done that, now I can jump back into working on the top pages. Now, I've already prepped a couple of things because I know you didn't need to sit through 3 signatures. Now, this is the pages I found in a butterfly book. I like the fact there's nothing on the back, and I'm going to use those within my signature. Now, I've already sorted the other 2 signatures out. I'm going to show you how I did them and the choices for how I made the choices for this. However, I do have, I think, a slight problem rearing its little head in my future, and that is, I think 3 signatures at 10 or 12 pages is going to be too much. So I think I'm either going to have to make the decision, do I have 2 signatures at 10 apiece or 3 signatures at 8? Now, I know that my journals usually end up carrying lots of stuff, and the spine is only about 1 inch wide, so I really do think I'm probably going to have to downsize the amount of papers, but I do like 3 signatures because it puts less stress on the spine. So let me just discuss what I'm going to put in before I do this bit, because there's a technique I need with that. I really wanted to put in some art paper into this journal, because I sometimes like to pull out mixed media stuff and do something if I'm feeling in the mood in my journal, but it is quite a heavy stock. It could be I've got to sacrifice this, and if I do want to do any of that, I actually do it on a panel of this and stick the panel into there. other than that, I've just got coffee dyed papers, and I've just coffee dyed papered these myself. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That makes 9, and this, once I've done it, will make 10. So I'm undecided. We've got to make a decision about that, and I think the only way we're going to decide that is once I've actually folded the signatures, then we're going to be able to tell. But let's come on to my dilemma with these pages. Right. Now, they are obviously too big. That's the size of my signature. They're too big. Now, I could fold them in this way, but then I don't want my butterflies all on the side and plants on the side. I want to actually have them this way. So I kind of had an idea, and I worked it out, and it did work. So bear with me, and I'll show you what I did, and hopefully it will all make sense to you once I've done it. So I'm going to take these out the way. Now, this is the size of my coffee dye paper, and I know it's the right size for my signature. I'm going to lay one of these down face down, making sure it's the right way up on there. And then I'm going to lay the other one in on the other side. And this will obviously give me an overlap. Now I'm going to slide this back just slightly. And I'm going to take a ruler. You're all probably wondering what the heck I'm up to, don't you? Yeah, it's me being funky again. And I'm going to take a pencil, I'm going to draw a line down there. Now, once I've done that, I'm going to get some art glitter glue, and I'm using art glitter glue on purpose because I want to make sure that there's a really good bond between these pages. Now, I'm going to run the art glitter glue up this line, or just this side of it. That's a good thing about having one of these thin nozzles on the art glitter glue is if there's a bit later on that isn't fully stuck, I can always slip the nozzle underneath and re-glue that section. Now, we're not gluing it to this bit here, so stop putting glue on it, Griffiths. So that page in the background has nothing to do except its job was solely to show me a size. So come in and put this across. And then what I'm going to come in is I'm going to line this paper up at the top of the bottom where that line is and try to get it lined up nice and evenly. Now, I know that when I cut these pages out of the book in the first place, they probably weren't the most accurate cut I have ever done in my life. So you know what? Bearing that in mind, I know I've got to trim top and bottom anyway, and I expected to do that, so that isn't an issue for me. So, while that's drying, let me show you what I actually ended up with, so you've got something to see. So, making sure that's down nice and up. I'm being a little cautious with the scraper because I don't want to get the image I'm actually scraping against damage in any way. Now, it won't take long for the art glitter glue to set, so I'm just going to put that to one side while I explain what that will give me. So let's pull in this signature, and I already have the page done. Now, I'm going to go through this whole process with you, so no panic here. So I'm going to trim it down top and bottom. I know that I'm going to be able to trim a little bit off the top because on each side there's about 1 centimeter's gap where there isn't anything, so I can even that side back up. Then I'm going to measure it and cut it off at the bottom. The bits I cut off, e.g. these pieces, can be used for pockets, can be used for ephemera, so I'm not going to throw those out, obviously. Once I've got that, I then came in with a bone folder and folded it right down the middle. And what that does is that gives me a piece that will go into my signature. I'm not worried that one page is bigger than the other because both pages are going to be smaller ever so slightly than this, which is the size it needs to be. And I use my scoreboard that I've got a mark for a centre line, and I just believed in that one. What it does mean is it means I'll have a whole page full of butterflies. Then when the signature's there, I'll have a page, but I'll have a border. So let's pull that in again. So when I open this page up, all I'll have on this page is that, and I quite like that. That's nice. That'd be a nice journaling space with a bit of a border. This one again will be a full page, and then when I open the next one, this will have a border. The added advantage of that is this is now double the thickness, so when I sew it into the journal, I've got a really nice substantial piece. So that was my thinking behind all of that. So let's put that back with the piece I just took it off, so I don't lose track of anything, which is easily done for me. And where's my guillotine gone? Right. I apologise now for the sound of the guillotine. It is what it is. Okay, it's a guillotine. I'll try and make it painless. So I'm going to come down almost to the top of those butterflies and take that off. Now, I know, because I've got a mark on my guillotine, because I actually did it that way. I just see I'm doubting myself now. Actually, thank goodness I did that. No, wait, I've got it wrong. It's this way I need to cut it. I thought something was wrong there. So this is the height of the page. The width of the page is already decided. So once again, I've got a really nice strip here that I can use for pockets, tags, side tucks, even a belly band if I really wanted. So, and all I've really wasted is this little strip, which is just white on white on white. Ooh, forgot to put the top in my glitter glue. Smack on the wrist for Griffiths. So, okay, now I'm going to leave this one because I don't want to score it while it's potentially still wet underneath. Okay, so I'm just going to put all of those together and let it dry, and I'll score it in a little while. Now, we need to talk about preparing our cover again now, I think, so bear with me, so I'll check it's drying. It's almost dry, but I'm not going to risk it. I'm going to get on and prepare the signatures. So I really think, looking at these, I'm going to have to downsize and sacrifice this bit because these two make quite thick. So I think this bit on each of the signatures is going to have to go. As I said, I can do a panel and stick the panel in. Now, when it comes to folding your signatures, don't be tempted to just fold them in half. That's not going to work. You need to fold them individually. The reasoning behind that is because then each of them will actually be folded down the centre. Whereas if you fold them en masse, what happens is the pages can be uneven because of the bulk of the actual spine of the fold. Now, it'll depend on how deep these end up. I might have to do some trimming anyway, or I might decide just to leave it. It depends on how much it sticks out of this journal. So hopefully you'll be able to see what I'm doing here. So I'm just folding them edge to edge. This could be any paper whatsoever. I mean, I'm using coffee dyed, and I'm using quite light coloured coffee dyed because that's the look I wanted to go for. You could use tea dyed. You could use coloured papers. You could use cabbage papers, you could use eco-dyed papers, you could just use white paper, you could use graph paper, you could go with the original theme of a junk journal and actually just use junk that comes through the door, or calendars or pamphlets or any sort of paperwork you've got hanging around. So let's keep this one going. Now if you hear a beeping at any point, it's because I've got a 1 hour timer set because I don't want to spend too much time on the first video and then no time on the second video. So if you hear a beeper going, that's me. And then we know I've got this one, which is it folded yet? This one isn't folded yet. Which one have I got? Oh, that's the new one. Oh, there you go. Almost had a mistake in the offing there. Wonder why that didn't have a crease down the centre. So, and this is the one I've already got. Now, it's at this point I need to decide how do I want the signature set up. Now, I don't particularly want this on the outside, because if I've got that on the outside of every signature, then I'm going to just have these as folds. But I think if I did, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. Add one of, oh, I could do those in the centre though, couldn't I? No, I like that as it is. And then another 1, 2, 3, 4. So that gives me 9 pages. And that's quite a nice little signature there. I'm thinking though it's still a bit chunky, but I'm going to leave it as is, just because I need to see them when they're all done. So I'm actually going to clip that one together, so I know that one's done. Right, where's the next one that needs working on? So, take the clip off. Right, we decide we're going to sacrifice this, because it's a bit heavy. And I'm going to fold these as I did before. Sorry, if this bit's a bit boring when I watch this back, I may fast forward this section for you. Let's have a little talk about coffee dyed paper. There are different ways of doing coffee dyed paper. You can do tub dyeing, you can dip them, you can spray them, you can spritz them, you can buy them. I tend to make my own, and all I do is I get a tub of warm water, and I put instant coffee in it, and I usually throw in a couple of tea bags as well, and then I literally take this, slip it through the bath of the mixture, and then I put them on a baking sheet in the oven for a few minutes just to dry them out, making sure I don't dry them out too much. And that's how I do my coffee dye. I do know some people will get a big plastic tub, and they will put a layer of coffee in the bottom, just a really thin layer, and then they'll lay the papers down, and then they'll spritz them with coffee in a little spray atomizer bottle, and then lay another one over the top, and they'll keep doing that until the entire thing is actually done. And then they'll usually just leave them in the tub to dry naturally. Some people will actually do it by doing their coffee dyeing outside in the summer, and then what happens is they're dried by the sun. I don't have that facility here in Wales, because half the time it's flipping raining, and the other time it's so windy that any papers I put out would actually just blow away. So right, 1, 2, 3, 4, add the butterflies, 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, that's another signature done, just tamping them down, clip them together. Right, that's another signature ready to go. Now let's pull in a scoreboard. I should have prepared that one earlier, and I didn't. So, any sort of scoreboard you want, whichever brand you use, I'm totally fine. If you don't have a scoreboard, you can score without a scoreboard. What I would say is put it on a slightly soft, surface, maybe some fun foam or something like that. Put a ruler down, and then run a tool down the centre of it. Just give them light pressure, and you'll probably do enough to give yourself a nice scored line. Okay, so I know that this is my halfway mark, because when I first had this scoreboard, I actually took a bit of paper and found out where the middle of an A4 sheet for me is. Now, American sizes and British sizes vary, so not by a huge amount, but by some. So I'm just going to score down. Now, if there's anything you should remember about scoring paper, is you need to make a valley, e.g. I've scored the valley into it, and then that valley becomes the mound or the mountain. And you do it that way because what it does is it compresses the fibres downwards, and then when you fold them, they're less likely to crack. So let's pop that one in there. So I'm not going to bore you with folding another one. I am going to just take this out of the mix though, add this to here, and then I'll fold that off camera before we actually use it, because you've sat through that twice already and you've probably had enough. So let's pull in the cover again. And here we go. I knew that was going to come undone because I picked it up by its ends. So excuse my arms at this moment in time. Hopefully it's not getting too dark for you. It's It's afternoon. What time is it? It's about 3:30 in the afternoon here. So it's tending to get a little bit overcast, should we say. That's the word I'm looking for, overcast. Right, this is dry enough for me to work on now. I mean, it's not completely dry, but I'm not worried about that. So let's move on to the next bit and do some decorating on this cover. Now, I'm going to use napkins on this, okay? And I'm going to use the Tim Holt Distress collage medium. You could use Mod Podge, you could use gesso, you could use whatever you wish to use, you can use, but that's what I'm using in this video. I've got one of his wider brushes. It's only because it's the only clean thing I've got. I mean, I sometimes use things like this, just regular paint brushes. It's whatever is to hand I will use. What are we going to be putting on there? Well, I've got some napkins. I've already taken the backs off some of them. I really like that napkin. That's gorgeous. I've used it before. It's one of my favourites. It looks like this when it's complete, and I may actually take a piece of it and do something with it for the back. So there you go. So I've got another piece. I'm not sure whether I want the back to be the same. I don't know whether I want to change it up a bit. I don't know. I'm still thinking about that one. There's another one I really like, and that's this one with the rose, but I'm not sure whether the rose one is going to work with the butterfly one. And then I do have one that's got little butterflies on it, and I've got a feeling I might be using a piece of this instead. I don't know at this point in time. So let's put that to one side and lay a few things out. As I said, I do quite like that. And I do quite like the way, I will probably lose a little bit of the beginning of the P on that, but that's okay. Where's the other bit gone? Where are you? I've just had it in my hand and now I've lost it. So I could bring in another bit along the back, which might work for me. I think what's bothering me isn't the fact the butterfly, the words on its side, but possibly the butterflies on its side. So I'm going to come down and just tear this napkin, trying to tear the butterfly out of this, which might be to my advantage anyway, because I might then use a butterfly on the front. I might do 2 butterflies on the front, which would be quite in keeping with the whole. I think I like that actually. And then I won't use this at all. I think that will probably be enough. I'm considering doing a little bit of black gesso on the back of here as well, but I don't know. As I said, I don't want to over labor this. Now, when you look at napkins, the napkins come in a ply. They have layers. So I've already taken one ply off here. I just wet my fingers, give it a pinch, and you'll find it'll pull the ply, and the ply being layers of tissue apart. Now with napkins, which is what these are, depending on the quality of the napkin will depend on how many layers you have. So that was one layer. I want to say there's another layer to go. There you go, there's another layer. The final layer is almost transparent. Okay, so that's what I kind of look for when I'm doing them. I really do like that. That's going to work for me. It's a pity that that's... No, because I might have something up there anyway. Right, okay, so I've got a plan. I'm going to keep these little bits and you'll see why later. I'm also going to bring in, I've got some plastic wrap. We call it cling film. You might know it as saran wrap. You may know it as plastic wrap. Oh, that's getting a bit dangerous, isn't it? It's something I use when I do this sort of process. So first of all, I'm going to leave that one to the side and I'm going to move these over so I know where I'm going to be working. Hopefully I'm still totally in screen. Now, this gel medium, not gel medium, this collage medium dries very, very quickly. So I put on a reasonable amount in the area where I want it, and then I immediately come in and I know that I'm going to have to work on the corner and the edge of this. And I'm just going to gently smooth it down with my fingers. I'm not worrying that that's over the spine. I will put a bit of glue underneath it because, as I said, I'm going to be gluing something to it, so that's not a problem. Now you'll note I'm not using my brush to smooth this down. Let's get that bit in there. I don't know that I had enough glue on that. And the reason for that is I like to, before I do that, I put the plastic wrap over the top, and then I can almost burnish this down, which means I can get rid of all of the air bubbles underneath. All of the detail is pushed down into it, and I get a really nice smooth seal. I can't remember who I first saw doing this, but it's been a bit of a life changer for me, especially when I'm doing things like decorating glass and projects that are actually of a shape. And then when you take it off, you carefully peel it back from itself. Any areas like that that have come up have probably come up because they didn't have glue under them. So, and if it does come up, it just adds to the grunginess of the whole idea. But I'm almost keeping it flat to itself, and that gives me that nice finish. Now I'm going to come in, I'm going to add the second butterfly, and I don't need this bit on the side of it. Probably don't need that straight line either. And I want it about, do I want it over there? I'm wondering whether I want that shown. I think I want it over the top of there. So I roughly know where this needs to be. So again, I'm going to come in with some collage medium and just put that all over where I want this to be down. Come in and sit that where I need it to be, probably over a little bit because I'm going to cover the spine. Just tap that down just so it's in place, and I'm going to come in again. Now if I had any glue or any medium on my bit of cling film, my bit of plastic, I would get a new bit of plastic, but I think I'm okay at the moment with this. You can really give it quite a good burnish without damaging the napkin underneath. So I've just seen a flash on my screen, and I'm hoping that my iPad hasn't decided to do its flicky thing. Occasionally it will come in and it will pause or freeze my iPad. I think it's probably because I've got an old iPad, to be honest with you. And that's my problem. I keep meaning to buy a new one, and it's not that I can't afford one at the moment, it's just I can't afford the time to get one. So right, I'm going to come in, and again I'm going to put a reasonable coating of this collage medium down just to make sure it's fully there, and come up. I'm working quite quickly because, as I said, this collage medium dries almost, I don't want to say instantly, but it's pretty darn quick, let's put it that way. So I've got a feeling that little bit didn't get stuck properly. And again, I'm going to put the plastic over the top and just work that down into it. Now this only works, or it only works for me anyway, if I've not got glue on the upper side, if that makes sense. That one's beginning to stick a bit. I think I want a new piece before I do anything else. So how are we doing for time? We're okay. So that's all nice and flat. There are no air bubbles whatsoever, and I'm more than happy with that. Now I'm going to put the lid back on that because that, as I said, dries out quite quickly, and I need to think about, I want something else there, just because I've got an issue there with that butterfly, and I'm thinking I could add another little butterfly into the scene because there's a nice blue one there, and blue is one of my favorite colors, but the pink would actually work equally as well, or actually the white would work equally as well. I don't want three of the same butterflies, so let's just pull in the white one and see how big the white one will look. I did say I was going to put numbers here as well, so sorry, not numbers, stenciling. It could be numbers actually. Yeah, I think we're going to put the white one there just because it's subtle. I don't want this to be dominated by anything. I just want it to be subtle. So again, a bit of the collage medium where I want this to go down. Bring my butterfly in. If I lay that in such a way, it looks like it's overlapping that wing. And grab a bit of that plastic wrap again. Oh, having a bit of an issue there. I'm just going to use my thumb just to smooth that out. There you go, I like that. And I'm looking at this little butterfly here, the one I tore off, and I think I'd quite like to add that to the back. Just as almost like a little footnote just by there. So again, just stick down my collage medium, pick up the butterfly, pop the butterfly in there just as a little note on the back page, or the back cover as it would be. Let's pop that down. Let's use my sleeve, because I've thrown a bit of tissue in the bin, didn't I? And peel that back. Now that that's all on there, I'm quite happy. I like that. That's nice and subtle. I'm loving the way that looks so far. I now need to think about, do I want to do any stenciling, or do I want, I think not actually, being a bit contrary. Right, I'm going to drop this into a glass of water because I don't want that drying out. I think, going to come in with a little bit more of that white gesso, just because I want a little bit more streak happening in there. So this is the white gesso again. Now, if I turn this way, it's going to make it easier for me to do this next action. So I'm just going to get some on my card or my spreader, and I'm going to just bring in bits just to bring a bit over the top, and this will just lighten this just ever so slightly more. Not that it needs lightening much. I just want to add a bit of, just a little bit more texture on there, but visual texture, not physical texture. If that happens, dab with a, whatever this is, a wet wipe, and you can just lift that off. Don't go back to it, you need to let that dry then. Right, a little bit I feel up here would help. Now we are going to go in later with some Mod Podge on this, just to seal everything in. But I think that's probably just enough. Just gives it a little bit of something. I like that. I think that's looking really good. So I do feel I would like to maybe add some splatters or something onto this, just to give a bit of dynamic to it. But the question is, what would I splatter it with? Probably paint. And if I'm doing paint, I want to actually just let this all dry off a bit before I do the Mod Podge. So let's tap that down a bit. So let me have a look and have a think. Do I need anything else on here? I could stamp onto it, but is that enough? I think, let's pull that down so you can see it. I think that's probably enough. I think that's probably enough. I am going to put book corners on this to protect the corners. As I said, there's going to be a spine onto it. I think we're going to call that done. I'm really tempted to reach for the numbers, the number stencil, and actually do some black gesso. But if the black gesso goes wrong, it's gone wrong. Oh, I know what I need to do on here that would work. Right, let me just get some black archival. I think I just want to stamp some text into this. So let me just grab, I've got this little text stamp. Don't ask me where I got it. I have no idea. Now I'm going to use a stamping block. I don't normally, but for some reason I think I want to use a stamping block today, because this is a really flat surface. I should be able to get a really good imprint on this. So just ink up my stamp, and I'm going to start on the back just in case it doesn't look right. I think it does look right. Okay. I'm sort of going off the page because it doesn't have to all be on. Oh, it's because I've got that there. That's why that doesn't work. Right. Just capture a little bit there, a little bit there, a little bit there. I don't like the way I've done that. I might just go over the top of that in a moment with a bit more gesso. Right, that's enough of that, I feel. Let's put the lid on that. And where's that gesso? Yeah, and if there's a mistake like that or something that really annoys you, just sort it out. Just get it done. I mean, I don't like the fact that I tried to double print it and then I tried triple printing it, and then before I know it, it was an absolute disaster. I actually quite like the fact that I can knock this back slightly. Once again with the gesso. Right, I think I want to say that's it done. Part of me wants to put some splatters on there because I like splatters of colour. I'm wondering whether I can do them. Let's put this to one side for a sec. I've got some white ink. I've got some distress stains, sorry. I think I can do them in that. They'll be substantial enough that I can actually then, once I do the Mod Podge over the top, it'll be fine. There you go. Right, I think we're going to call it a moment there, purely because I know we're coming up on the hour. And what I want to do is I don't want to go over an hour. So in part 2, I will have already dried this totally and it will have been Mod Podged. I will also go in and I will fold the last of the signatures, get that ready as well. And in the next video, we'll start putting this together and think about the inside of the cover and all of the other bits that go into making this. So thanks for the patience, guys. As I said, I will double check to see whether the video paused at any point. If it did, I will do my best to get rid of it. Maybe I can edit it out. Okay, hope you enjoyed that so far. I will see you in a few, well, it'll be tomorrow really, I start filming. Take care. Bye-bye now.